Hey everybody, Asher here with another Stellaris preview, where today we're going to be talking about POPs, the system that I'm probably most excited about in the new Stellaris game, but something that, while it's been touched on here and there in the dev blogs, Paradox has not really done so much to flesh it out. Now, the quick and dirty way to talk about POPs is just to say it's the Victoria 2 system, but a lot of people haven't played Victoria 2, so let's talk a little bit about what POPs means in the context of Stellaris. And probably the best way to do that is just to talk about it from a planetary management point of view. Now, if you look at a planetary map, there are different areas on the grid. Some planets are smaller, some planets are bigger. And in each of these tiles or each of these areas of the grid, there can be a pop or a population or a person. Now, each one can be working a tile or not working a tile, which tends to make them unhappy. And these are the little things that develop resources for you, a la Civilization 5 and all kinds of 4X games that have city management or space management of some way, shape, or form. So they can get food to help you continue to grow your planet, they can get minerals, they can get energy, but they can also get angry. And that's where the pop system comes in and turns it more to just little faceless units that are staring at you, being obedient and producing resources for you. Now, each pop has its own race or species, so it's possible to have multiracial planets. Each one has its own set of ethics, which we'll talk about in just a minute, and each one, as a result, can have its own grievances. Those can be from different policies that you've enacted. Those can be from just the fact that they prefer to live on an arid environment, but you've placed them on a cold tundra world. So in that way, population units can really just, let's put it this way. There are some layers for any kind of grand strategy game. You have your huge map, you have essentially your war goals. What do you want to do? How far do you want to conquest? But this is another layer that really adds to the depth and complexity of the game, because as your empire blobs out, as presumably a lot of people will want to do, your pops are going to have to be managed a little bit more, massaged a little bit more, if you will, because this is a system that works directly against expansion. Now, that's because pops have their own ethos, which is independent of, say, what the Empire started out as. Now, when you create your own race, you have your own planet, yeah, it starts there, but your race is not bound to a particular ethos, although you can, depending on your government type, set some policies to kind of either limit ethos drift or spread it out further. But as you encounter other races, there is a sort of kind of drift. It's essentially just like real life. You meet new people, you exchange ideas, you have new feelings about the universe, life, and everything. So I think probably the best way to look at it is just to touch on briefly the different ethics that you will run into in outer space in Stellaris. And you'll have to apologize for me looking at a list here just to make sure. Now, we do have, when you create a race, when you start out the game, you have different choices for things that you can select. And I'm sure there's going to be mods that expand these tremendously or flesh them out. The first one is collectivist versus individualist. In other words, everyone's working for the greater good, the greater whole, or for themselves. Xenophobes versus xenophiles. In other words, being scared of aliens or loving and wanting to know more about other aliens. Then there's militarist versus pacifist, which is about what it sounds like. You either love to fight or you love to not fight. And then materialist versus spiritualist, which is essentially, I mean, the idea is that things on this earth are things that you have for yourself versus some greater spiritual beyond. I'm not 100% sure how that will play out in the game, but each of these four ethos are diametrically opposed to each other. And if you do have some mixes, they can, say, not work out very well. For instance, if you put a bunch of xenophobic aliens on a planet that has other aliens that are not like them, they're not going to be happy. If you have a bunch of spiritualist aliens who just are put on like the most materialist capitalist area ever, they're going to get stressed out. And what you get when you kind of put that mix together is you start to get, as something I've alluded to in previous previews, people start to infight. And it's not just, okay, well, pull a slider, make it all better. You actually have people who will possibly take their grievances to you, and they can go as far as even say, we're going to form a separatist faction, we want to try and become a vassal, or we want to be independent. Or just in general, people may try and come to you and say, okay, we'll fix this first. Or they may essentially just create a coup. Usually you can catch it ahead of time. It's kind of, in a way, like some other Paradox games where sometimes you can see the bad coming before it does, and the game gives you menus and systems to monitor these possible splinter factions or these pops that are unhappy. Now, there is kind of a greater arching thing to that as well, is that there are leaders in the games, which I've seen the Stellaris devs also refer to as pops. And you do have leaders that may also have a policy for things like, well, my agenda is I want to separate my race and give them back their own space. And they could win an election on you if you have that form of government. Doesn't mean they'll splinter off, but it means that you'll have more people that join the planet later on or join your empire later on, so they can be mad if they lose the election later. But that's democracy. And so, like I said, different things for the population system play out very differently. It manifests itself in a way where you can't always control what your little populations do. When you're managing a space empire in a game, I like the idea of the fact that you cannot just pause and keep tabs on every little thing all at once. There's going to be some things that are just beyond your control, and I think pops are a healthy way that's already been well done by Paradox before. They've already tested this system in Victoria. It works. It's not like they're trying to do something new and it will just crap on itself entirely. So I think it is a very nice addition compared to when you look at other Space 4X games or even 4X games in general. Not many people or not many games will go to the people level and make them more relevant than just the peasants are revolting, give them a bath. But that's pretty much it for this preview. Not as long, not as involved as some of the others. Like I said, we're going to be doing just a few kind of touch-off previews for different portions of the game, different things that have me excited. If there's something I forgot about, by all means, let me know in the comments, or if there's something else you want to say, something that you recall maybe from playing Victoria 2 or other similarly situated games, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is Asher. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more Stellaris content. We are almost to launch day. It has been a long time coming. Thanks for watching. See you next time.